All right, let's just dive right in. Today, we're exploring a really beautiful story about a small boy named Arun and a snowy-topped peak called Moonhill. Now, on the surface, this reads like a very gentle, standard bedtime tale. But when we look a little closer, it actually serves as a brilliant, highly structured blueprint for active listening and finding inner peace. So we're going to break down Arun's journey together and see exactly how it maps perfectly onto the practice of mindfulness. I absolutely love this quote. This profound wisdom from Arun's grandmother perfectly hooks us into the core theme of the whole journey. It establishes the fundamental rule of mindfulness right from the get-go. We have to consciously step away from the noise and distraction of our waking lives to truly connect with the quiet. The friends the mountain keeps, they aren't going to shout over the noise of the village. They literally wait for the quiet. So that brings us to part 1, the call of Moonhill and the invitation to quiet.
Look at how brilliantly the text contrasts these two environments. On one hand, you've got the village, right? It's associated with the golden sun, a soft pink sky, the busy waking world. But on the other side, Moonhill represents the deep, starry night and just ultimate quiet. Arun makes a really deliberate transition here. He pulls on his tiny blue sweater, steps outside, and immediately the air smells of pine trees and cool grass. He is physically leaving the active state and entering a meditative one.
Moving on to Section 2, Meeting the Nature Guides, or Entering the State. So Aaron is walking past these fireflies that literally look like forgotten stars, and he starts gathering these friends one by one. First up is Pebble, a rabbit with silver ears. Then Sunny, a bright yellow bird. And finally, Willow, a deer with gentle eyes who explicitly tells him she knows the way. Each of these characters actually represents an escalating, deeper connection to the natural world. Arun isn't rushing at all. He's slowly gathering his focus, exactly like we do when we first sit down and meditate. As they climb higher and the village lights shrink way down below them, Arun asks his new friends why everyone loves the mountains so much. And their answers? They brilliantly illustrate the accumulating wisdom of this journey. Pebble says, "It listens." Sunny chimes in with, "It remembers songs." And then Willow completely rounds out the thought, "And it keeps peaceful dreams safe." It's a progression that really shows how Arun's understanding of this quiet space deepens with every single step. Eventually, they actually make it to the top, and the text meticulously grounds us in sensory details here. Picture a quiet meadow, soft, cool grass, little white flowers glimmering in the moonlight. By focusing on these incredibly vivid, grounding details, the story creates this completely immersive, calming atmosphere. It's setting the perfect stage for the climax of the story. Right in the middle of this meadow stands Moss, an old brown bear with eyes as warm as candlelight. Moss really serves as the ultimate anchor for this whole mindfulness exercise. He looks right at Arun and says, "Tonight is the night of listening." This right here is the peak of the mountain, and it's the absolute peak of Arun's focus. Which leads perfectly into Section 3, the night of listening, the peak of focus.
So Moss tells Arun to just listen for the mountain's bedtime story. At first, there's nothing. No wind, no footsteps, no rustling leaves, just breathing. But then it slowly builds. First it starts as just a whisper. Then that whisper grows into a hum. And finally, the hum becomes a soft, slow song. The crucial takeaway here is that the mountain's voice doesn't just suddenly switch on. This gradual escalation brilliantly mimics how we slowly tune into our surroundings when we sink into deep meditation.
Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is that song? Well, the source material makes it very clear that the mountain's bedtime story isn't literal, spoken human speech. It's the sound of wind moving through pines, streams traveling over stones, owls calling in the distance, clouds drifting. It is the beautiful, collective symphony of nature finally settling down. At this point, Arun is perfectly attuned to the present moment. This brings us to Section 4, the mountain's story and its underlying message. After absorbing all of this, Arun whispers, "It says that everything is safe." Guys, this is the emotional core of the entire journey. Moss smiles and actually calls this the oldest story. It represents the ultimate reward of active mindfulness. It's that core feeling of profound security and peace we can achieve when we finally quiet our anxious minds and just exist in the present. Let's take a step back for a second and look at the structure of this experience. Mapping out Arun's physical journey shows us the temporal progression of the night.
It kicks off with the evening sunset, moves into nightfall as he gathers his guides, peaks right at midnight during this deep listening phase, and ends with a drowsy late-night return. It perfectly mirrors the arc of a guided meditation, bringing you deep, deep into relaxation before very gently bringing you back to reality.
And that transitions us into Section 5, bringing peace home, heading back to routine.
So the little group walks back down Moonhill, with the fireflies floating a bit slower now. Down at Arun's gate, they part ways, and Arun asks if he's ever going to see them again, and listen to their answers. Willow promises to return whenever the night is gentle. Sunny says whenever the fireflies dance. Pebble tells him whenever you listen carefully, and Moss says whenever your heart feels peaceful. These promises beautifully illustrate a huge concept. This peaceful state of mind isn't just left up on the mountain, it's a tool that is always accessible to Arun whenever he actively seeks it out.
When Arun gets back inside, his grandmother is waiting. She asks if Moonhill showed him its friends, which totally surprises him. And then she delivers this wonderful line, "I have listened to the mountain too." This is such an amazing bookend to the story. It reveals her own starlit smile and confirms that this journey of active listening, this pursuit of mindfulness, it's a timeless, shared practice across generations. As he's finally tucked into bed, you see this total integration of his journey. Moonhill is standing quiet outside, but Arun has brought the peace inside. He imagines his friends out in their places, and he hears the gentle whisper of the mountain one last time. "Rest now, little one." He successfully brought the mountain's calm directly into his own room, falling asleep feeling perfectly protected. So as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with this final thought. Arun found his peace by actively stepping out of his busy, everyday life and tuning into the present moment. So where's your quiet place? And what does the mountain say to you when you finally stop to listen to the quiet? Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this, and I really encourage you to find your own Moonhill tonight.